Welcome everyone. August the 4th tonight. New moon in Leo, early morning. So we're just hours into the next lunar cycle, both sun and moon still in Leo. And just short before actually the new moon occurred, Jupiter crossed the 15-degree Gemini mark, entering the second part of the sign of Gemini. The first part is discovery. That's the keyword Dane Rudyard is giving. He does this really great segmentation of the zodiac, gives keywords. The first is discovery. The second is exteriorization, bringing it out, speaking up, being visible, displaying it in public. That is what Jupiter is now doing. And Jupiter, as we have experienced already the last few months, this has been an extreme, I would call it an information war on a whole new level of information being spilled out in the open into the mainstream. It has been leaking for sure. Many of these subjects which were considered conspiracies have been picked up by the mainstream because they couldn't work around it any longer. They had to somewhat admit it, even though they do it in their own way, naturally, of, the narrative, the words you use to describe something make all the difference, to give different emotional undertones. So you would kind of, it's not neutral reporting. I guess that's the baseline here, which I want to make, which has become obvious to so many people who had no subjections. All of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but in a growing manner, this awareness has been growing that this information is not pure. It is tainted, and it is having a political agenda behind, which wants to push us in a certain direction. So anyway, the long and short, Mercury is turning retrograde in a few hours. This will be a super important phase into the end of August of, I call it the oh shit moment. And so, sure, we have been in that for a long time already, but this is now the culmination where it really is sweeping across populations in a much more intense way. It's actually that hyperbolic motion. We are now pretty much in the vertical. So this will lay the foundations for the initiating of the home run, which is September to be expected as kicking in. Right now we are still in that phase of stunned, not really able to do the right moves with your jaws dropped. That is kind of the general feel I still get from the large part of population. Definitely fast approaching that moment when it is unavoidable to start declaring your color, standing your position, saying no, being really clear that this is the line drawn in the sand and you won't cross that one. And this will be literally, many people will arrive at that point simultaneously, adding on to the resistance, which definitely is important in order to push through. Anyway, with Mars in Gemini as well, pulling up to Jupiter on the 14th of August. This is a very explosive mix, together with the Mercury retrograding. Mercury is the ruler of that conjunctions, so we have to definitely pay attention to Mercury first and foremost, as being the, what's called in astrology, the dispositor. It means it kind of dispositions how Mars and Jupiter and all planets in Gemini at this moment will express themselves. So first of all, the retrograde motion will be changing gears in a new direction. We will see where that goes. But let me get you started here on the nice, the beautiful synchronicity again with the cosmic energies we had this morning. So this was posted in spaceweather.com. That were the auroras, and there was a G3 class geomagnetic storm in the early hours of the 4th of August. This was photographed in Colorado. So G3, that's strong. We had a G5 plus storm in May, which was, they call it now, the extreme geomagnetic storm of the century almost, because these happen very rarely. This is a G3, that is just 2 levels less, and that just was a brief burst, and it was around 9 UTC, most intense, 9:48, just a little bit ahead of Jupiter entering the 16th degree. Definitely a cosmic celebration of this moment of pushing Jupiter into an even higher gear. I mean, the sun has been super active already. This is the picture from late July. You see we have here the M-class range, and there's a few which were already then touching into the X-class here, particularly on July the 30th. This is the picture now which continues this graph, and you see then on the 31st we had another almost X. And since there were numerous really strong flares, as you can see here, all the way through August the 3rd to day, actually on the 4th, it was a little less intense in terms of explosions on the sun, but this storm in itself was kind of the high point, which is naturally always having a certain delay as these excited charged particles traveling with the solar wind, which is kind of the combustion stream coming out of the sun in all directions, traveling through space, coming to Earth in roughly about 24 to 36 hours, depending on the speed naturally, or even longer. It really is depending. Sometimes, I guess normally it takes 2 to 3 days actually for that distance to be covered by the solar wind. In that sense then imposing or interacting with the magnetic field of Earth, causing auroras, northern lights. And as you know, the more intense these geomagnetic storms are, the more of these charged particles are pushed into Earth's field, the more the sky will light up and auroras can be seen into the tropical areas at rare moments like it was in May. So anyway, this is kind of the background we are dealing with. They say the sun hasn't been as active in 23 years, since 2001, since November 2001 to be exact. So we are in a fast evolutionary whitewater stream, you could call it, and that's exactly what reality around us is showing up as. I mean, just we have all these extreme stories now really popping right into the open. They cannot be really kept back anymore, or maybe it's even that intentional. I mean, just think of the Olympics ceremony, of that crazy event which really made waves all over the planet. All different opinions came to be heard on that, and certainly it was deeply concerning on many levels. Then the next thing we see is that women are being beaten up by men, and it's publicly sanctioned. And this was the best comment I found. I guess it really describes where we're at. That's kind of the thing we have really to take a stand and say no to what is fundamentally wrong, not to support mental illness. That's what it basically is. So let me now go into the astrology. So this was short before new moon. A few hours later, and actually I want to point out the ascendant here for Greenwich, which is the fractal of planet Earth. In that sense, we astrologers often are using the 8th degree of Libra. Now this degree will be repeatedly showing up over the next few weeks in different ways. So this is an important introduction of the energy of this degree. Just give you a quick preview here of what I discovered just lately. This is the first of 3 Chiron returns for the New World chart. And you please go back into the archive to listen to my earlier recordings, which I have named the Declaration of the Independence, as I really think this was the moment when something really big and new was born, which is far bigger than the United States of America. That was just the place where this was founded, but it is definitely a global idea which was born on that day, and in that sense also that's how we feel on our planet these days. All over the planet people are rooting for the American nation to make the lead, to break through into new territory, to really grow up and take that sovereignty and freedom and independence to a whole new level of manifestation, of being real, and not just a promise on paper, that the sovereignty of each and every individual will be honored on all levels. That is really the promise in that Declaration of Independence. And that's why this Chiron returns, there are 3 of those. One was in April, as you see, the second will be in December, the third one will be next year, sometimes in, I guess, in February or so. But the process has been initiated, come into its core phase of renewal on that date of April the 20th, when Chiron, for the first of 3 times, returned to the degree of 20 degrees and 8 minutes in Aries, which is exactly the degree it is here in the 1776 chart. And you see the 8th degree of Libra here at the top of the chart. So this tells us that now we really come into the core phase of the transformation of the nation. And naturally this Chiron in opposition to Juno is a most important feature of the American chart. It's in 2 angular houses, in the 10th and the 4th house, speaking of the true anchoring and ambition we reach out for. That is this polarity, which is now increasingly pushed into recognition and manifestation, which in a nutshell says we are deeply recognizing the problems which we have in connecting with home and nation and earth, and seeing that these are deep wounds which have been sacred wounds, you could say, which push us to go on to the journey. That's literally the journey of the hero, according to Joseph Campbell. It is that story. You have to first be initiated into a difficult situation, then this fires you up to find the resolution. And this is happening naturally with Juno here. It is all about standing together and overcoming divisions. So Juno also happens to change into Libra very, very soon, as we will see as we go. So this is back in April. Here it was the beginning of Virgo, that asteroid, and here you see on the 4th of August as of today it is at 28:15, which in itself is a powerful minute of the degree in itself of 28 of the 29th degree. It is the entry point into hexagram 46, which is rising up. I mean, it couldn't be more nice. So this chart literally is at the root of what we will see manifesting over the coming months, and it will definitely be a closing shoulders of the American nations people there. And once this truly happens, many things are possible. Another really powerful coincidence, synchronicity, I would rather call it 9:55 Gemini. The Mars is here at, you see, this is just here past Uranus, so and the Mars is approaching the descendant here. Actually, they are flanking the descendant of this base chart already. So as I said, this is an explosive mix as such, and we will see where that goes. There is definitely a big danger in it too, as I will show you in just a few seconds. Here we go to the new moon chart here now, which is just a little bit later. You see 2 hours later, and still Libra rising here in Greenwich, and still Cancer in the midheaven. There's this same energy still in the air, now coming to its culmination, the 30th degree, and Pluto here right at the root, and Chiron at the 7th house cusp. So this is another clear sign that globally this transformation is really lifted to a new level. That action of digging to the roots of problems and finding the cause, and therefore allowing healing to come in, that's all which Chiron is about. It is that honest assessment of what is. And Pluto then naturally is the force of nature, which brings change as its logical conclusion. There's no way around that. Interesting also that this root point here in the 30th degree of Capricorn, that's where Pluto will go back to between September 4 and November 19. So already this chart is linking into what is coming in a couple months. It is the month of preparation. Also, if you do the numerology, it's the 8th month in an 8 year, 2024. 2 plus 2 plus 4 is an 8. The 8th month of an 8 year, if you add that up, you get a 16 or a 7. The 16 in itself is the tower, which is showing the collapsing of whatever is wrong, the lightning strike coming down from heaven is destroying the tower, leveling it. So if you add the 1 and the 6, you get the 7, which is resonance with a higher dimension. 7 is a super interesting number. It is literally the one which is most in touch with the invisible worlds. And then September will be 17 or an 8, 9 plus 8. Actually, every year the month of September mirrors most exactly the year frequency. because it's the 9th month and the 9 disappears in numerology. Anyway, that's a little additional info. Interesting that the new moon was at 12:34, 1, 2, 3, 4, also showing some sort of a new beginning, and there is a sequence, there is a natural sequence, a natural acceleration here also in the numbers, you could say. Now let's see, that's what I did. I looked at the same moment, the Leo new moon for Jerusalem. You know why I do that. That is the center of attention right now. We might see some real ugly stuff coming down in that region of the world, sadly to say. And this chart kind of confirms it with Uranus here at the 7th house cusp. Actually also the degree of Algol, which many people spoke about. That was the degree where Mars and Uranus had their conjunction just not long ago, around July the 20th. So this is a supercharged degree as such. Mercury here at the top. Yes, this is at most certainly interesting, because it also brings the discourse, it brings the attention to this place on the planet. I did the astrocartography here for this new moon, and I did the special kind of give you here the special segment of the global chart of this moment when Mars and Jupiter are conjunct. Actually, I should have changed the format. Sorry, you probably can't see it properly, so let's just do this. Okay, that is probably better. Okay. Right, now you can see it. You see Mars-Jupiter conjunction, August 14. So what really stands out is the Pluto and the ascendant. The Pluto line here goes through this area. Through here, you see this is Israel, and also the Uranus at IC at the 4th house cusp here, close by Syria, Turkey, Iraq, Saudi Arabia. So this is a charged area for the next few weeks for sure, with the Jupiter Mars conjunction coming up on the 14th. Yes, definitely worth paying attention, and also holding the energy of peace and sending out the frequency of love and resolution in a bigger way. This is in the most positive aspect of this. Yes, it brings the attention there, and it brings the discourse, hopefully. OR10 2007 OR10, which also is known as Gong Gong. That's the Chinese water dragon. Kind of an eruptive energy. Very can be very losing its mind almost, kind of getting mad. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. The story goes, Gong Gong, the sea dragon, the water dragon, lost its position in a fight with the fire dragon, and that made it so mad that it rammed its head into a whole mountain range, destabilizing Earth, causing rivers to flow backwards, and really a very, very drastic description there is in the Chinese mythology about that. I guess one of the supports of the planet Earth broke off. That's how intense that jolt was. So anyway, this gives you kind of the tension of which is definitely well described, well shown in this new moon chart. So this is really boiling. Now let's scan through a few more charts. This is then Mercury turning retrograde tomorrow early morning. Interesting, as I pointed out in my last recording, the moon at the degree where Mercury will turn direct again. So there's this kind of bridge into the future, into the resolution is already within this moment. The resolution is in the question, you could say. So this is beautiful. So that means we can already connect emotionally and from that very primal self the moon represents to the outcome of this quest of 3 weeks of Mercury going backward. So it's a projection point. If we hold the intention for peace, this might be really the way to make this happen. Really powerful chart as such, with the Leo rising here, which actually is the axis of the green comet, of its direction, where it comes from, where it goes to. The center line is in the 17th degree of Aquarius. That's where it comes from on its 50,000 year journey into the inner solar system, and then traveling out again now. So there's something very much connected to that energy in this retrograde phase, which was, as you know, the green comet. I keep forgetting the exact quote. Let me read it again because it's really so well said. The green star-seeded comet of deliverance codes for humanity. There was really some magic happening there, some implementation of missing little pieces, that the ones which would then allow to open the vault and access all the locked codes and information. And this is naturally happening on many levels in many different dimensions simultaneously. This is literally the time bridge to the lost continent of Mu, which existed 50,000 years prior. So we're kind of reactivating the memories of that time. That is part of the story here. And with Sun and Moon here flanking this degree, yes, there's a direct connection to this comet's energy. Go back into the archive, you can find plenty of recordings where I pointed out the extraordinary astrology of that comet, and Magenta Pixie did talk about it. The Nine gave their comments, as I say. I will post that link again underneath. It's definitely worth listening. So this is the Mercury retrograde initiation tomorrow early morning, and then let's see what else I have here lined up for you. The 9th of August then is the next big day where many different things happen at once. The moon will be farthest from Earth here at, yes, again in the 8th degree of Libra. And yes, I really want to give you the meaning here from the Sabian symbols of this 8th degree, what the oracle is, and what Rudyard then writes. The oracle of the 8th is a blazing fireplace in a deserted home. The comment. There is always hope for recovery and re-beginning. Even after having had the, well, let me see if I, let me read you the essence here. So it is really, the essence is that nobody is home. The fire is blazing. So there's the hope for us to come back to our center, to the home, to where the fire is, until the fire of the soul within the human psyche totally dies out, a rare and tragic occurrence. There is always hope of recovery and re-beginning. yeah, I guess it really describes it well overall. That is the energy we are experiencing definitely for the next few weeks strongly, as the node is moving through this degree, most particularly between now and probably about the 12th. Okay, that is also interesting that the moon will be farthest really close to the south node, so this is also a deep dive into past shadows. The south node, as you know, is always linked with where we come from, our past, our baggage, our inheritance in a way, and the black moon there, yes, all of them in hexagram 18's territory work on what has been spoiled. This is the call to deal with what needs our help, what needs to be remedied and improved upon. The beauty is that the north node is in hexagram 17, which is following, which is a highly spiritual calling to manifest oneself. It is one of the strongest hexagrams of sovereignty and inner determination to be just oneself regardless of the outcome. Very bold energy. These first degrees of Aries are in a general way spoken. All through the rest of 2024, certainly the nodes are still in this cardinal fire. So let's make the best out of it before we dive deeper into the unconscious of Pisces and enter a whole new different level of integration with the bigger cosmos. Much more soft this will be, so we have definitely to use this Martian draw to push through hindrances and barriers. This is the time to do it, and naturally that's also the time when they're put up in front of us. This is the other side of its expressions. So on that day, just a few hours later, you see the moon 1:33 a.m., 9:13:26 a.m. This is a super important shift. It happens in the heliocentric geometry. Neptune, actually all planets always move forward in the heliocentric, so each point in the zodiac is only visited once. Naturally everything moves forward, so it is that one time in 165 years that Neptune is at this powerful point in the zodiac, crossing from darkening of the light, where it was the last few years, that deep dive into shadow energies and deceptions and corruption and all of that being really thrown into our face, and we had to deal with that on all its multiple levels of expression. Now this is a big shift into innocence and rebirth and recognition and deep insights into the cyclical nature of all the big evolutionary events. 25 is uplifting. It is literally opening our eyes in a spiritual way. That's how the heliocentric should be seen. It is the higher dimension, which is not local, so to say, which is not in this physical body, but in the greater reality of life force in this particular environment we live in. Naturally, the sun is the center of life force. That's where everything has been growing out of. It's the energy of the sun which allowed the life on planet Earth to start with. So if the sun would stop, for example, all of a sudden be turned off within 8 minutes. It would be totally dark here. Within hours, everything would be frozen deep, and all life would perish. It is the sun which is really the heartbeat. That is the center of this bubble of life we have here in this section of the cosmos. So that's why heliocentric astrology is so super important. Super important moment. It will be literally a change of the energy in a heartbeat. Yes, it will take time to really be recognized, show itself, but that is a very big moment in time we are approaching fast. And short after that, that is in the morning, 9:14 or so. Actually, this is actually the heliocentric chart, and the geocentric really speaks volumes. This is that same moment as we are experiencing then on planet Earth from our viewpoint. And you see the black moon here exactly at the ascendant. Yes, this is the scales are falling off our eyes. We see reality in a new light, and naturally this is coming to terms with what I called before the oh shit moment, the really big one of having all of a sudden perception channels opened which were blocked, and this yes, in a collective way, most certainly, with the moon here also in conjunction with the south node in the black moon. I mean, this is just hours after the moon was closest to farthest from Earth, so this is a powerful turning point as such, which redefines the moon's orbit for the next 4 weeks. So this is super important, that day, the 9th of August, as a turning point. You can mark it. It will be subtle but deep. And then also on the 9th, you see, this is now the culmination of the story when Juno enters Libra, coming back exactly to the same sign it is here in the independence chart. The moon by then in the 16th degree of Libra, which is a super important point. I have pointed out multiple times the solar eclipse of April the 8th charged up that degree. It was the Greenwich ascendant, I think that's what it was, and multiple other charts. The chart for January the 2nd, when the Earth was closest to the Sun, was in this degree. So this all kind of builds its intensity, and it is in a perfect trine to Jupiter, that even more so, and the Sun is still in a quite exact sextile here with the Moon and with Jupiter both. So this is auspicious. This is very auspicious, this chart. And then let's see what else I have here. On the 12th is the waxing half moon. What stands out here is the 12th degree of Sag Gemini here, and that is, as you can see, that was the degree where the moon is here in that moment when Neptune shifts on a very subtle level its energy. So this will become more obvious that there's a change which has been just happening when we reach that first quarter moon. You see, the Sun is here, Moon has traveled 90 degrees, and this is actually really a turning point for the Moon, as it becomes an outer planet, versus if it's between Sun and Earth, then it is can be categorized as an inner planet. as you know, that we have this big distinction in astrology. Inner planets are the ones which are closer to the sun than Earth, which is naturally usually just Venus and Mercury, and the moon during the 2 weeks between its waning quarter, new moon, to first quarter, and then the moon becomes an outer planet, literally, which links us to the collective sphere. So it is that moment when the moon's energy really changes its outlook from personal to interpersonal, transpersonal, a very important moment. Every 7 days we have basically a shift in lunar energy in that sense. And then finally, the final chart, I mean, yes, another thing I want to pay attention, put attention on is the Sag rising here in a really strong resonance again with the independence chart already, as you see naturally in this chart. We have a Sag rising, Juno entering Libra, so, and in that chart here the moon and vertex, actually no, this is Libra, but Mars, yes, that's the one I wanted to point out. Mars at 1313 you see is most exact here at the 7th house cusp by transit, again showing that this is the stage where this play is at its most intensest, most obviously the clashing of these different voices coming into the light, being seen on big stage. Nothing is hidden anymore, everything is fully visible. And then last but not least, I have this chart. No, I don't have the other one, but I should show you one more chart to end this session, so just bear with me. Here it is. That is the final one I wanted to show you, which is then on the 14th of August, when Mars and Jupiter have their exact conjunction. This is really the peak of the wave, and we sure hope that it will not be too much of violence which we see spilled out into the world in the next few weeks. There is definitely the potential. It is very important to keep grounded and do the best we can, connect every day with that, what Jacqueline Hobbs, Oracle Girl, calls the loving presence, the energy of love, which is everywhere, which holds the universe together literally. If we are allowing that to enter through our bodies, being in our bodies, connecting with the greater energy field of the earth, and become the warriors we are meant to be, and to hold that space of peace and of freedom, of sovereignty. Thank you for joining and listening. This is a super intense month, and it's naturally also super exciting, whatever it will be. And do not take sides, don't judge, don't fall to be pushed from into one corner, to be in that place of inattention. Allow things to unravel, to happen. This is the purification in itself, by allowing things to play out, to be just there, to hold the energy and make sure we get through it as unscathed as possible. Have a wonderful time in spite of its intensity. I love you all. Bye bye.